This is the entrance to the Gruta de Esquirol, the Esquirol Cave. It's not open because you can't just walk in. You have to arrange a visit ahead of time. Fortunately, I arranged a visit ahead of time. Let's explore it. The Gruta do Esquirol, or the Esquirol Cave, is in Portugal's Alentejo region, in the district of Évora. It's in the municipality of Montemoro Novo, near the town of Santiago do Esquirol. It is a site of significant archaeological importance and has been a national monument since its discovery in 1963. Access to the cave is controlled by the municipality of Montemoro Novo, and some restrictions are in place to protect the cave and its contents. Visitors are welcome, but you must book a guided tour in advance. Photography and video recording is not allowed unless you've been given permission in advance. I booked a tour and requested permission to record it for this video and was given permission. You're met at the gate by your tour guide. My guide, Sonia Contador, was very friendly and professional, and she speaks excellent English. You enter the cave through a modern opening and walk along wooden ramps with railings lit by electric lights. One of the first things we see is a set of human remains.
If you see where I have the dot, that is a piece of ceramic, broken of course. And on the side, these smaller things are human bones. When it's possible, depending on the number of people, but you are along, you can see it, but if you can lower yourself, there is still a skull back there. But you can only see if you are in a specific uncomfortable position. But that means that this area was clearly excavated in the 60s. But don't forget, it was before they were aware of the images, because as soon as they found the images, that was the end of the excavations.
When the caves were first discovered in 1963, the workers in a marble quarry who blasted a hole in the hillside entered and immediately saw hundreds of human bones. They immediately left and alerted the authorities, who quickly investigated. The human remains were quickly identified as prehistoric, and the significance of the cave was assured. This was a Neolithic necropole used between 5,000 and 7,000 years ago by the first agriculturalists as a burial place for their dead. But this necropole was not near the entrance. Archaeologists found that the modern entrance was some distance from the original opening, so these ancient mourners carefully carried the bodies of their loved ones deep into the cave, carefully placing them in a fetal position with tools, shells, pottery, and more. But as they investigated the cave, archaeologists soon found that the use of the cave dated back much further. Both painted and engraved art was found in various locations around the cave. The style was similar to other cave art found in Europe and dated back to the Paleolithic era, anywhere from 10,000 to even 30,000 years ago. This was the first, and so far only, prehistoric cave art found in Portugal, and is significant as the site furthest west in all of Europe. Sonia showed me first one of the largest examples of painted art in the main gallery.
In this area, you can see that there are some spots of color. So when we talk about rock art images, here we have some things. But of course, because of many issues, the images are not as perfect as we would hope. A very big issue is that we have not descended much, so this is a very superficial cave. So water and other issues have caused damage to the surfaces. It's actually quite amazing, despite or in spite of all the problems, we still have images we can see with our naked eyes. Obviously, there will come a point in which the images will disappear. But let's think positive, because we are all going to go first. So here we have some of the paintings. We think they are mostly of animals, but of course you can have your own point of view. But if you look at this outline, a very common idea is that we have two animal heads and each one is looking a different or opposed direction. So we would say this is the muzzle or the snout, however you call it, then the neck. If it's easier, we could say now it looks as if it's half of an animal and it's looking this direction. But then we have what seems to be a cut and another head looking the other side. Because each head is looking a different direction, some experts comment on the idea of movement. Above, you also have something. We think this one is an animal looking towards the left. So to do it slower, we would say it's the front leg and the rounded belly. Maybe it was pregnant, or maybe we wishful thinking, think that. And then the other leg, there's still a little bit, quite faint, of the tail. The back is not visible, but should have been here. And we have the neck, which you can see. So the head was likely on top. But there are a few other spots of color on the side, including this red pigment. So we think generally that probably this whole this whole panel had more patterns. So probably there were more, or let's say, not the best word, but better images. But with water coming down, and today you can actually see some drops of water. So with water coming down and usually following the same paths, this means you can see the problem much better than you see the images. But amazing, if you see this, it means the images had to already be there.
I know that some of you are thinking, this is incredible. Human beings were creating artwork 20,000 years ago. That's 10 times as ancient as the beginning of written history here when the Romans invaded Iberia. I also imagine some of you are thinking, those paintings are so old and so damaged that all I can see are black and red squiggles on the rock. What a disappointment. I can understand both viewpoints, as I have to say that I feel a little bit of both. If you are underwhelmed by how this artwork looks today, then I ask you to at least try to consider its significance. This is representational artwork of animals that lived in the area tens of thousands of years ago. It would have been much more impressive when it was first painted, but the fact that it has survived tens of thousands of years of water damage and mineral deposits makes it, if not an amazing piece of art, then at the very least a significant historic artifact. Certainly, the archaeologists who study these many works, for there are dozens of them in the cave, consider them a vitally important glimpse into how early humans experienced the world and made a record of it. And if you use your imagination to transport yourself back to the time when people were making this art, you may begin to appreciate its significance.
I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to turn off the light. If I turn it off, you can still see with your naked eyes that something is there. But something funny for you to think of, during the summer season, if you come to visit this cave, you will not see this image. Because during the summer season, there isn't one drop of water inside. This is a very dry area, unlike what you are seeing today. So without water, this image will become invisible.
Archaeologists are still exploring the cave and finding and interpreting the many carvings and paintings.
You can see quite well, which is labeled a geometrical shape. So that means that in this cave, besides the images of animals, as we assume, they also found images or scratches or dots of color, for instance, that could have had some kind of meaning. The problem is what? So you can identify 3 vertical lines in red, kind of, and then 3, not exactly, but let's say horizontal ones. So an idea is that this has to have a specific meaning, although we cannot really know what. An interesting theory, just a theory, could perhaps allow us to simplify things and say, since these people would not see in darkness and they had to come inside with torches, they would only see, for instance, this image as they came closer to this specific spot. Since we do have two corridors that are natural, in the sense that it was not people who did it or opened it. So since we do have the two corridors, maybe the shape of these spots of color could be a sort of indication to guide or help these groups to maneuver inside. Because now you do it, but you have light spread. You can see something is there even if you are not close to it. But we cannot prove it was that intention, yeah? So it means something, but we don't really know what. So when we talk about engravings, we are talking about images which were done with rocks on the rock. So that means with time, water, certainly other factors, the depth of those scratches is slowly going to disappear. So nowadays, most engravings here are not as detailed as we would like, but if you look this direction, I think you can see that there are some weird scratches on the surface which we know to have been done by someone. So if you see where I have my dot, there are two parallel lines which do seem to be a little rounded. So the idea is that this is a horn, and then you have the other that side. So the idea is it should be a certain arch, or the shape would be similar to it. And then here you have a few other lines which you could try to identify as perhaps the head or the face, that's up to you. But these images, of course, have an issue. Although water does not change how you really see it better or not, without having certain issues or certain tools, such as the light, without the light, it's not that easy for you to understand something is there. And if with time the scratches are losing depth, of course one day they will disappear. So we are also hopeful that maybe like this one, maybe there are other things hidden beneath layers of sediment. But as we said, we cannot remove the sediments just because we want.
Perhaps the most iconic piece in the cave, which is used as its logo on signs everywhere, is viewable, but you have to crouch down and see it from a low angle.
So we would say, maybe this can help you. So we think it's two heads in this area. So I'm talking about all these scratches. So we believe it's an engraving. We believe it's two heads looking towards the left. So we would say this is one rounded head, kind of. And then the ear. Several vertical lines, kind of random, but we think, or the neck, so the volume if you think about it, or if you think it's a horse, the mane had to follow the movement of the head. And then there is a much smaller head, the ear more or less, a bit smaller, several lines too. So the idea is that the smaller head and then the bigger one are both looking towards the left. So a possibility is the movement. So as the heads move, the size might change or the position. Or you can think maybe it's done by different people or something like that, who knows. But one thing you can see is that the rock fell, got stuck in the position you currently have. So that means when it's raining a lot, water needs to come from above, you know. So not doing this path as often means this little niche has been more naturally protected than most of the other locations. So speculating, maybe we can see more elements in this image or more detail because by chance it has been a location that is more naturally protected.
Many of the artworks are representative of animals, but some are more abstract or geometrical. Do they represent something, or are they symbolic? And why exactly did people paint or carve these images? Was it for artistic expression, spiritual or religious purposes, some kind of communication, or leaving a record of human presence? We may never know. Beyond the cave itself, the area has significant remnants of human presence. There are indications that Neanderthals used the cave as a shelter as much as 50,000 years ago. Then Homo sapiens left the artwork in the Paleolithic era around 20,000 years ago. It was used as a burial chamber in the Neolithic about 6,000 years ago. Then a settlement was built above the hill later on during the Chalcolithic period about 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, and there was a circular tolos, or megalithic chamber tomb, built nearby about the same period. Combining them all, this site was a significantly important place for people who lived here many thousands of years ago, and it was used for many thousands of years. The cave itself is well worth a visit, and the interpretive center in the town of Santiago de Escorial helps to paint a fuller picture of the human life in prehistoric times and puts the cave and its many uses into an understandable context. I hope you've enjoyed this visit to the Escorial Cave. Please leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about this site and its significance today. If you'd like to know more about Escorial, please check out the links down below. I've got lots more information on my website, prehistoricportugal.com, including information on how to book a visit. And do subscribe. I'm going to be visiting more caves, more megaliths, and lots more prehistoric sites in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching.